Despite human diversity, one common trait is the desire to appeal to others. Whether it's our family, friends, co-workers, or most importantly, the person we love. However, this need for approval can sometimes lead to unintended consequences. Imagine walking with a friend and to make them laugh you purposefully trip yourself. But instead of landing safely, you lose your balance, collide with the stairs and end up hanging over the edge, about to fall. This scenario is powerfully and terrifyingly captured in the 2017 Indian film Trapped, directed by Vikramaditya Motwani, who has earned high praise for his work. His previous films like Queen and Udaan received an impressive 4.8 star rating, solidifying his reputation for delivering compelling and intense narratives. In the first 10 minutes of Trapped, we are introduced to Shaurya, an ordinary office worker who harbors a crush on his colleague Noori. Nervously, he tries to express his feelings while fumbling over his words and struggling with shyness. Don't worry, Shaurya, I struggle with that as well. Noori, aware of his affection, playfully pretends not to recognize him, even hanging up the phone at crucial moments. After a few awkward but endearing attempts, Shaurya finally convinces her to go on a date. If Shaurya put as much effort into his work as he does into winning over Noori, he'd probably be a millionaire by now. But beneath Noori's sweet demeanor lies a surprising revelation. During their dinner date, she reveals that her marriage has been arranged with someone else. Though initially shocked, Shaurya's love for her keeps him from reacting strongly. Later, Shaurya brings Noori to his apartment, which he shares with 3 other roommates. They retreat to his room and share an intimate moment. During this encounter, Noori bluntly tells him that she can't live in such crowded conditions, reminding him of her marriage as a threat. Determined, Shaurya assures her that he'll find a better place by the next day. He spends the following day apartment hunting but has no luck, until a stranger overhears his problem and offers him an empty unit in Swarg, a high-rise still undergoing construction and embroiled in legal issues. Although hesitant about the shady arrangement, Shaurya's urgency to impress Noori outweighs his concerns. He moves in, but because the building is nearly abandoned, even the lone watchman doesn't realize that Shaurya has moved in. The next morning, Shaurya leaves to tell Noori the good news, but as he steps out, he realizes that his phone is still inside. In his rush to retrieve it, he accidentally leaves the keys in the lock. Inside, he discovers that the phone battery is dead, and just then a sudden gust of wind slams the door shut, trapping him inside with little to no resources. Even the wind seems determined to keep Shaurya from marrying Noori. The story is simple, but what truly captivates the audience is the film's exploration of life's many facets through Shaurya's struggle and compelling performance. The actor starved himself to look skinny and even ate non-veg despite being a vegetarian. Whether or not Noori fell for his love, I definitely did, seeing his dedication. Together, these elements create a thriller that immerses viewers in his fictional world, revealing the harsh realities and inviting the audiences to interpret the story through their own perspectives. This movie resonates with the themes of human relationships, decision-making, loneliness, psychology, and primal instincts. Trapped serves as a profound exploration of what happens when one is stripped of modern conveniences and forced to confront isolation and survival. The story begins with human relationships which deeply influence our decisions. Shaurya's choice to move into an unoccupied, unfinished apartment stems from his desire to impress Noori and his attachment to her, illustrating how relationships can drive us to take risks. His need for approval ultimately leads him into a dangerous situation. This in turn leads to loneliness and isolation. Trapped in an apartment with no food, water, or means to communicate with the outside world, Shaurya faces an overwhelming sense of solitude. The silence and the emptiness of the apartment, with the fact that no one knows he's there, underscores a chilling truth about life. Despite the physical proximity we live in, individuals are still confined in their own worlds. As days pass, Shaurya's behavior shifts from an ordinary civilized man to someone driven by pure survival instincts. He drinks rainwater, eats insects, and scavenges whatever he can find to stay alive. This shift reveals the primal survival instincts that emerge when all other resources are exhausted, showing that beneath our conditioned lives, humans still possess a fundamental animalistic nature. Thanks to Shaurya for making me realize why I don't like showering. Throughout his ordeal, Shaurya's psychological state deteriorates as he grapples with fear, despair, and eventually hopelessness. He begins to hallucinate and even having conversations with the rats. These scenes capture the toll of isolation on his mental health, revealing how humans are psychologically unprepared for such isolation and deprivation. His inner monologues and desperate actions illustrate the mind's struggle to cope with such extreme circumstances. For anyone interested in psychology and understanding the human behavior, just watch this movie and avoid those student depths. The building's emptiness due to unresolved construction and legal issues symbolizes larger societal negligence and a lack of accountability. Shaurya's situation is worsened by society's indifference, with no one noticing or helping him, even as he shouts for assistance from his window. This indifference represents a subtle critique of urban society's lack of community and support, especially in moments of individual crisis. One of the film's key strengths is its ability to convey its meaning through symbolic objects and characters. Noori symbolizes the goal, while Shaurya represents the mind striving for fulfillment. When Shaurya realizes that Noori will soon leave him, he desperately clings to the hope of keeping her, which drives him emotionally. The stranger he encounters represents the external world that preys on vulnerability. I love this movie because as someone who loves diving deep into philosophical representation of objects, this movie is a gold digger for me. Objects in the movie, like the empty building, symbolizes the isolation from society that we experience when we become deeply engrossed in pursuing our goals. The locked door reminds us how easy it is to step into a dark place, yet how challenging it can be to find your way out. In the end, Shaurya finally escapes and is on the verge of pulling a Will Smith 2.0 on the Watchmen, but he restrains. He is then admitted to the hospital where Noori comes to visit him. There he learns that she is now married. As Shaurya watches Noori leave, he realizes that 11 days alone just saved him from a lifetime of torture. Because of its wisdom and simplicity, I highly recommend this movie. However, for anyone expecting a typical Bollywood film, Trapped might come as a surprise. There is no traditional antagonist, no defiance of gravity, no larger-than-life characters, no grand-scale music, no beautiful ghosts, and no comedy. Instead, Trapped offers something far more relatable, which is why audience loved it, as reflected in its box office earnings, which were 6 times its budget. It dwells into common human phobias, the subtle influence of society on our actions, the quiet longing of a middle-class worker in search of love, and the raw, instinctive will to survive against all odds. We witness the protagonist's struggles, failures, and profound impact on the mind when deprived of its basic needs. Overall, this movie deserves a 5-star rating, and for anyone interested, you can watch this lotus blossom in the cringe-worthy mud of YouTube.